The shoulders must be relaxed, open, and allowed to hang down. If the shoulders are risen, the chi will rise with them, as with the chest, and there will be no strength. Drop the elbows by relaxing them and allowing them to hang freely. So sink the shoulders and drop the elbows. It sounds very simple, right? And it really is very simple, but it's a very important concept to help your body relax, but it's also very important to help these movements be effective. One of the first things that I teach a brand new person when they're learning Tai Chi is hold the ball. And I'll show them hold the ball, bringing the weight over whatever your side your weight is, that hand is high. And I'll demonstrate hold the ball. And they will invariably do this. For some reason, we like to raise our elbows, but even now, just do that with yourself. That causes all kinds of tension in your neck and your shoulders. If you simply drop the elbow, it allows the shoulder to be much more relaxed. So even in this simple transitional movement, you want to keep the elbows dropped. Shoulders are relaxed. Think about pushing chi. If you come into your pushing chi right now, it's very easy to keep those elbows down, right? To drop the elbows in this movement. So as you're doing your pushing chi right now, I want you to not only think about what you're doing with your hands, what you're doing with your elbows, but I want you to feel your feet. Feel how grounded you are. Because now what I want you to do is raise the elbows like this and try to do pushing chi like this. And it feels yucky, right? It feels very tense. It also is very ineffective. Do this again and now feel your feet. Feel how not rooted and grounded you feel. Now drop those elbows again and do your pushing chi and see how much more rooted and grounded you are. This is an effective push. If you were to try to push open something, you're going to push like this because you can use that energy from the ground. Being rooted and grounded helps you push. You would never approach a door like this and try to open it like this. You would try to do it like this with the elbows dropped. And that's part of that effectiveness of a movement. Simply dropping the elbows actually helps you be rooted and grounded. So now I'm going to turn towards the mirror because we're going to do brush knee. So I want you to hold that ball and remember to keep the elbow dropped in your hold the ball. Stepping out and brush knee. It's very tempting, right, to straighten out that arm, right? We want to really hit our opponent. But this, again, is a very ineffective movement. I'm off balance. I've broken my columns. All my opponent has to do is pull, and he's got me. If, however, I keep this elbow dropped and have this rounded look, if you will, to my arm, now it's an effective movement because I still have my balance. I still have something more to give if I were to approach that opponent with brush knee. It's very important to keep all of our joints loose and rounded, soft, if you will, in Tai Chi. And that actually helps with the effectiveness. So let's practice brush knee a couple times, holding the ball to the right, step out, brush knee, and keep this rounded position to your arm. The other arm is also rounded. I'm not locking any of my joints. Now rocking back, holding that ball, keeping the elbow down, brush knee. Think back to what we talked about last week with substantial and insubstantial. Let this leg become completely substantial before you step forward with the insubstantial leg. One more. Brush knee. So it's very important to keep our joints not locked, to keep them unlocked in Tai Chi. When we do our ward off sequence, hold the ball to the right, do this with me, step out. When you do your ward off, yes, the elbows come up, but they don't come up like this. They come up in an effective way that you can block your opponent. This is not a good position. As you step out into that ward off, then you simply drop those elbows for your grasp the bird's tail. You don't want to reach and lock out those arms. Again, this is very ineffective. I'm off balance. I'm not rooted and grounded. My foot, you can see, I'm about to fall forward. So if we keep ourselves within our columns by just dropping those elbows for grasp the bird's tail, roll back, rotate and press, pushing chi. Let's do it on the other side. Bringing your weight over to the right, bringing it back to the left, step out, ward off, grasp the bird's tail, roll back, rotate and press, pushing chi. Come into your single whip, bringing your weight over to the left, bring it back to the right, form a bird's beak, and single whip. Notice in this motion, I have this rounded position for my arm. Again, it would be very ineffective to block like this. And notice how when I straighten and I lock that elbow, notice how that shoulder has to rise. It's causing all kinds of tension, and I don't have any power in this. If something were to come across this hand to try to hit my head, I have no way to block it if my elbow is locked like this. If, however, I have this soft, rounded position, something comes across, I can easily block. When I have this position here, I have all kinds of options, whereas if I'm here, I do not have options. So when you come into your single whip, make sure your arm is nice and soft and you're not extending it like this. Let's do our wave hands like clouds. Just 3 steps like we do in the form. And it's easy to stay rounded with wave hands like clouds, right? One more, single whip. Good, keeping that nice, soft, rounded position. And like I said, it's easy with wave hands like clouds to keep that kind of rounded position, right? A movement that's very similar to wave hands like clouds is actually part the wild horse's mane. With part the wild horse's mane, we want to keep both arms nice and soft. We don't want to overextend. We don't want to lock those elbows. Think about when you do your part the wild horse's mane, it's really just like wave hands like clouds, only you're not going to the side, you're going forward. So let's practice part the wild horse's mane, holding the ball to the right, step out, part the wild horse's mane. Let that rotation, that movement from the dantian, Help keep your arms nice and relaxed, nice and soft. One more, part the wild horse's mane. So remember effectiveness of movement. If you were to strike an opponent, if you were to try to strike an opponent with a locked arm like this and all this tension here, it would not be nearly as strong as using that rotation and keeping your arm in this nice, soft position.